The water was impossibly blue. That's what I remember most about that moment, right before everything fell apart. Sarah and I were standing ankle-deep in the ocean, watching the sun melt into the horizon like liquid gold. We'd been married for exactly 72 hours, and I'd never been happier in my entire life. "I could stay here forever," Sarah whispered, squeezing my hand. I was about to agree when my phone buzzed in the pocket of my swim shorts. I'd promised myself I wouldn't check it. We were on our honeymoon, half a world away from our regular lives. But something made me look. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the 3 previous missed calls I'd been ignoring all day. The name on the screen made my stomach drop. Derek Morrison, my boss. "Don't answer it," Sarah said, but she already knew I would. After 4 years working for Derek, I'd been trained like one of Pavlov's dogs. When he called, you answered. "This'll just take a second," I promised, stepping away from the water. "Hey Derek, what's up?" "What's up, what's up?" His voice was sharp, angry. No greeting, no acknowledgement that I was supposed to be on the most important vacation of my life. "I'll tell you what's up. The Riverside Estates Board is threatening to terminate our contract because nobody was there to handle their emergency meeting last night. Where were you?" My mouth went dry. "Derek, I'm in Bali, on my honeymoon. You approved this time off 6 months ago." I approved time off, not complete abandonment during a crisis. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You clearly don't have the dedication this company needs. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Sarah was walking back toward me, concern etched across her face. The sunset that had been so beautiful 30 seconds ago now felt like a cruel backdrop to the worst conversation of my life. "Derek, I left detailed handoff notes. I briefed Marcus on every single account. The Riverside meeting wasn't even on the calendar when I left." "That's not the point. The point is that when this company needs you, you choose to be on a beach somewhere instead of doing your job. So I'm making this simple. You're terminated. Effective immediately." The words hit me like a physical blow. "You're firing me, right now, on my honeymoon." "I'm making a business decision. Email me your laptop password and your client access credentials within the next hour, or I'll withhold your final paycheck for failure to return company property." Sarah reached me just as my knees started to feel weak. "What's wrong? What's happening?" I couldn't form words. Derek was still talking, something about how this was my own fault, how I'd forced his hand, how the company came first. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to throw my phone into the ocean. Instead, I just stood there, watching the most beautiful sunset of my life through tears of rage and humiliation. "Fine," I finally managed to say. "You'll have the passwords in an hour, but you still owe me 2 weeks of vacation pay and my commission from the Henderson account." "We'll see about that," Derek said and hung up. Sarah grabbed my shoulders. "Tell me what just happened." "He fired me." The words felt surreal coming out of my mouth. Derek just fired me because I wasn't available for some emergency meeting that wasn't even scheduled when we left. She pulled me into a hug, and I just stood there, numb, while the waves lapped at our feet and other couples laughed and splashed around us, completely unaware that my entire world had just collapsed. We walked back to our hotel room in silence. While Sarah ordered room service that neither of us would eat, I sat on the edge of the bed and started composing the email with my passwords. That's when something occurred to me, something I hadn't thought about in almost 2 years. I opened my personal file storage and started searching through folders. Employment documents, tax records, business expenses, and then I found it. The Trademark Registration Certificate for Prestige Property Management Solutions. Filed 2 years ago. Registered owner, my name, not Derek's, not the company's, mine. I stared at the document, my hands beginning to shake for an entirely different reason. "Sarah," I said quietly, "come look at this." She sat down next to me, reading over my shoulder. "What am I looking at?" "Revenge," I said. "I'm looking at revenge." We flew home 2 days early. I couldn't enjoy paradise knowing I'd just lost my job and our savings account was looking thinner than I'd like to admit. Sarah held my hand during the entire 15-hour flight, but I barely noticed. My mind was spinning with possibilities, questions, and a growing sense of something I hadn't felt in years. Power. The trademark certificate was buried in my email, but I'd printed it the moment we got back to our hotel room in Bali. I must have read it 50 times on the plane. Prestige Property Management Solutions. Registered owner James Mitchell. That was me, not Derek Morrison. Not Prestige Property Management Solutions Incorporated, just me. You need to talk to a lawyer, Sarah said as we pulled into our driveway. Like, immediately. I know, I'm just trying to process what this actually means. She turned off the car and looked at me with those eyes that had somehow convinced me to take a chance on love 4 years ago. It means you have leverage. It means Derek might have just made the biggest mistake of his life. I wanted to believe her, but part of me wondered if this was just a technicality, something Derek's expensive attorneys would crush in about 30 seconds. Still, the next morning, I made an appointment with Rachel Chen, an intellectual property attorney whose name I'd found through a frantic internet search at 2 a.m. Her office was in a renovated warehouse downtown, all exposed brick and modern furniture that probably cost more than my car. Rachel herself was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with sharp eyes that seemed to calculate value with every glance. "Tell me everything," she said, pulling out a legal pad. I walked her through it. How Derek had wanted to trademark the company name back when we were smaller, just 5 employees and a dream. How he'd asked me to handle it because he was too busy with real work. How I'd paid the $425 filing fee out of my own pocket and used my personal information because it was easier than getting corporate paperwork together. How Derek had promised to pay me back and never did. How we'd never gotten around to transferring it to the company. Rachel listened without interrupting, taking notes with a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. When I finished, she set down her pen and leaned back in her chair. "This is remarkable," she said. Remarkable good or remarkable bad? Remarkable as in I've been practicing intellectual property law for 8 years, and I've never seen anything quite like this. You own the trademark to his entire business. Every sign, every website, every business card with that name on it is using your intellectual property without your permission. My heart started pounding. So what does that mean? What can I actually do? Rachel pulled out a fresh sheet of paper and started sketching out options. Legally, you have several paths. 1, you could license the trademark to him for a fee. 2, you could sell it to him outright. 3, you could demand he stop using it immediately. Or 4, you could use it yourself for your own competing business. Could I really do that? Start my own company with the same name? You don't just have the right to use that name. You're the only person who has the legal right to use it in this industry. He's the one who's been operating illegally for 2 years. I felt dizzy. Sarah had come with me to the appointment, and she reached over to squeeze my hand. "What would you recommend?" she asked. Rachel looked at me carefully. "That depends on what you want. Do you want money or do you want justice?" I thought about Derek's voice on my honeymoon, the casual cruelty of it, the way he dismissed 4 years of loyalty and dedication like it meant nothing, the way he still hadn't sent my final commission check, probably hoping I'd be too intimidated to fight for it. "I want him to understand what it feels like," I said quietly, "when someone takes something valuable from you without warning, without mercy." Rachel's smile widened. "Then we're going to send him a cease and desist letter, and we're going to make it count." She started typing on her laptop, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "We'll demand he stop using your trademark immediately. We'll calculate damages for 2 years of unauthorized use, and we'll make it very clear that you're prepared to take this as far as it needs to go." "How much should we ask for?" Rachel paused, her fingers hovering over the keys. "Based on his business size and revenue, I'd say $150,000 is reasonable for past infringement. But here's the beautiful part. Every day he continues to use your trademark after receiving this letter, those damages keep climbing. Sarah let out a low whistle. When do we send it? How about Monday morning? Rachel suggested. Let him have a nice weekend before his world turns upside down. I nodded, feeling something cold and determined settle in my chest. Monday morning sounds perfect. As we left Rachel's office, Sarah linked her arm through mine. No going back now, she said. No, I agreed. No going back. Rachel sent the cease and desist letter at exactly 9:00 a.m. on Monday morning. I know because I was sitting at my laptop, refreshing my email every 30 seconds, waiting for confirmation that it had been delivered. When the read receipt came through at 9:03 a.m., my hands started shaking. It's done, I called out to Sarah, who was making coffee in the kitchen. She appeared in the doorway of our home office, 2 mugs in hand. How do you feel? Terrified, excited, maybe a little sick. That sounds about right. She handed me the coffee and kissed the top of my head. Whatever happens, we're in this together. The first call came at 9:47 a.m. Derek's assistant Michelle, I let it go to voicemail. She called back immediately. Then again. By 10:15, she'd called 8 times. I listened to the first voicemail on speaker so Sarah could hear. James, this is Michelle from Prestige. Please call Derek back immediately. It's urgent. He needs to speak with you right away. The desperation in her voice was almost satisfying. Almost. At 10:33, my phone lit up with Derek's personal cell. I took a deep breath and answered. Mitchell, his voice was sharp, but I could hear something else underneath it. Uncertainty. What the hell is this legal letter about? It's pretty self-explanatory, Derek. You're using my trademark without permission. I need you to stop. He laughed, actually laughed. Your trademark, James, let's be adults here. You can't intimidate me with fake legal threats. I've been running this company for 12 years. And I filed the trademark registration 2 years ago. In my name, which you never paid me back for, by the way. This is ridiculous. You did that as part of your job, as my employee. That intellectual property belongs to the company. I'd practiced this moment with Rachel. Stay calm, stay factual. Actually, Derek, that's not how trademark law works. I paid for it with my personal funds. I'm listed as the sole owner. You never reimbursed me, and we never signed any transfer documents. So legally, it's mine. The line went quiet for a moment. I could practically hear his brain working, trying to find an angle. You're bluffing. Check your email. I'm sending you the certificate right now. I hit send while he was still on the phone. The PDF of the trademark registration, official government seal and all, with my name in the owner field. I counted the seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. This doesn't mean anything, Derek said, but his voice had changed. The confidence was cracking. My lawyers will tear this apart in 5 minutes. Then have them call my lawyer. Her information is in the letter. I paused, letting it sink in. Oh, and Derek, we're demanding $150,000 for 2 years of unauthorized use, or you can stop using the name immediately. Your choice. You're out of your mind. I'm going to bury you for this. Fraud, breach of contract, theft of corporate assets. I'll sue you for everything you've got. Sue me for owning something that's legally mine. Good luck with that. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest, but my voice stayed steady. You have until Friday to respond. After that, the number goes up. This isn't over, Mitchell. Not even close. He hung up before I could respond. I set the phone down and realized my hands were trembling. That was incredible, Sarah said, but she looked worried. Are you sure we're on solid legal ground here? Rachel says we are. Derek's just used to bullying people into backing down. The rest of the day was chaos. Derek called 6 more times. I didn't answer. His lawyer called twice. I forwarded those to Rachel. Then, at 4:30 p.m., something unexpected happened. My phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Local area code. Hello. Mr. Mitchell, this is Patricia Henderson. I'm the president of the Riverside Estates Board. I hope you don't mind, but I got your number from our management files. I heard something interesting today, and I was hoping we could talk. I sat up straighter. Riverside Estates. That was the account Derek had mentioned during that terrible phone call in Bali, the emergency meeting that had somehow justified destroying my honeymoon. Of course, Mrs. Henderson, what can I do for you? Well, I heard through some mutual acquaintances that there might be some changes coming to Prestige Property Management. Something about the company name, and I wanted to ask you about it directly, because frankly, we've been looking for a reason to make some changes of our own. I caught Sarah's eye across the room. She mouthed the words, "What's happening?" I covered the phone and whispered back, "I think Derek's clients are calling me." Mrs. Henderson continued, "Our contract with Derek has a clause about material changes to the service provider. If the company name changes, we have grounds for early termination without penalty. And between you and me, Mr. Mitchell, we've been unhappy with the service for quite some time." My mind was racing. I hadn't expected this. I'd wanted to make Derek's life difficult, to get back what he owed me, to stand up for myself. But I hadn't thought about what would happen to his clients. Mrs. Henderson, I appreciate you calling. The situation is complicated, but yes, there may be changes to the company name in the near future. I see. And would you happen to be starting your own property management company? Because if you are, I'd very much like to discuss what you could offer Riverside Estates. I looked at Sarah. She was nodding, eyes wide, mouthing say yes. Actually, Mrs. Henderson, I think that conversation might be worth having. After we hung up, I just sat there staring at my phone. Sarah broke the silence. This is bigger than we thought, isn't it? Yeah, I said slowly. I think it is. Mrs. Henderson wasn't the only one who called. By Tuesday afternoon, my phone was ringing off the hook. Board presidents, treasurers, even a few concerned homeowners who'd somehow gotten my number. Word traveled fast in the property management world, and apparently Derek's situation was the hottest gossip in 3 counties. This is insane, I told Sarah after the 5th call that morning. I didn't even advertise. I don't even have a real company yet. You have the name, she pointed out. That's worth more than you think. The second call that really mattered came from Robert Kim, board president of Sunrise Gardens. I'd met him exactly once, at a holiday party Derek had forced me to attend 2 years ago. He'd seemed nice enough, if a bit frustrated with Derek's handling of their pool maintenance. Mr. Mitchell, I'll be direct. I heard about your trademark situation, and I'm wondering if you're planning to continue in property management. I hesitated. Was I? 24 hours ago, I'd been focused on revenge. Now people were asking me to actually run their housing developments. I'm considering my options, Mr. Kim. Good, because Derek missed our last 2 board meetings. Our pool has been broken for 3 weeks. The landscaping crew he hired keeps mowing over sprinkler heads, and when we call to complain, nobody answers the phone. He sighed heavily. Our contract has a performance clause. If we can document inadequate service, we can terminate with 30 days' notice. I'm documenting everything. I appreciate you telling me this, but I'm not trying to steal Derek's clients. You're not stealing anything if we're the ones reaching out to you. Look, I know Derek fired you. Michelle told her sister, who told her husband, who plays golf with my neighbor. Small world. But from what I remember, you were the one actually doing the work while Derek played businessman. So if you decide to start your own operation, call me. We'd like to be your first official client. After we hung up, I sat in my home office staring at the wall. This was getting real, fast. By Wednesday, I'd spoken with 6 different board presidents. Thursday brought 3 more calls. They all had similar stories: missed meetings, ignored maintenance requests, rude responses when they complained. Derek had gotten comfortable, maybe even lazy, and his clients had noticed. The most illuminating call came from Jennifer Walsh, treasurer at Maplewood Terrace. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. "I'm going to tell you something off the record. Derek's been raising our management fees every year for 3 years straight. Last increase was 18%. When we questioned it, he said it was industry standard. Then I did some research. It's not industry standard. He's overcharging us by about 30% compared to similar properties. Why haven't you switched to a different company? Our contract has an early termination penalty of $25,000. Most of us wanted to eat the cost and leave anyway, but 3 board members voted against it. They don't like confrontation." She paused. "But if Derek has to change his company name, that's a material change to our contract. The penalty might not apply." I was starting to see the full picture. Derek hadn't just made one enemy, he'd made dozens, and they'd all been waiting for an excuse to leave. That evening, Sarah and I sat down at our kitchen table with a legal pad and started making lists. Startup costs, licensing requirements, insurance, office space. It all felt overwhelming until Sarah said something that changed my perspective. "You're not starting from scratch. You have 4 years of experience, industry connections, and apparently a waiting list of clients. Plus, you already have the most valuable thing, the name everyone recognizes." She was right. I picked up my phone and called Rachel. "I need to actually start the company," I told her. "Not just own the trademark, I need to make this real." "I was hoping you'd say that. I'll start the incorporation paperwork tomorrow. What are you going to call it?" I smiled. "Prestige Property Management Solutions, same as always." Friday morning at 8:00 a.m., Derek's lawyer sent Rachel a formal response to our cease and desist letter. They were offering $25,000 for the trademark and a mutual non-disparagement agreement. Rachel called me immediately. "They're lowballing you, badly. What should we counter with?" "Well, let me ask you something first. Do you actually want to sell, or do you want to use it?" I thought about Mrs. Henderson's broken fountain, Mr. Kim's neglected pool, Jennifer Walsh's overpriced management fees. I thought about all those board presidents who'd called me, desperate for someone who would actually answer their phones and show up to meetings. "I want to use it," I said. "I'm going to build something better than what he had." Then we counter with something he'll never accept. $200,000, all unpaid wages and commissions, and a written acknowledgement sent to all his current clients, explaining why the company name is changing. Make it so unreasonable that he has no choice but to let you keep the name. Won't that just make him angrier? Rachel laughed. "James, he fired you on your honeymoon. He's already as angry as he's going to get. Now it's time to stop reacting and start building." She was right. I'd spent a week focused on hurting Derek. But that wasn't enough anymore. I didn't just want revenge. I wanted to prove that I could do this better than he ever did. I drafted my counteroffer that afternoon. $200,000, full back pay, and the letter to his clients. I knew he'd reject it. I was counting on it. Because I didn't want his money anymore. I wanted his business. Derek rejected my counteroffer in less than 2 hours. Rachel forwarded me his lawyer's email with a single-word response. Expected. His message was brief and furious. "Our client finds your demands absurd and made in bad faith. We will be pursuing all legal remedies available, including but not limited to claims of tortious interference and breach of fiduciary duty. We advise you to retain separate counsel immediately." I read it twice, then called Rachel. "Should I be worried about this?" Tortious interference. He can't interfere with his own business relationships, and you had no fiduciary duty to him after he fired you. This is posturing. He's hoping you'll panic and take a smaller settlement. She paused. "So what do you want to do?" "File the incorporation papers. I'm starting my own company." Music to my ears. I'll have everything ready by Monday. That weekend, Sarah and I transformed our dining room into a war room. I reached out to my former colleague Marcus, who'd been handling my accounts while I was gone. We met for coffee on Saturday morning. "Derek's losing it," Marcus said, stirring his latte nervously. "He's been screaming at everyone. Michelle quit yesterday, just walked out during a meeting." "Michelle quit. She's been with him for 7 years. "Yeah, well, he threw a stapler at the wall when she couldn't get you on the phone. She said she was done." Marcus leaned forward. "Look, I need to ask you something. Are you really starting your own company?" "I am." He nodded slowly. "Are you hearing?" "I hadn't expected that. You want to leave Derek?" "I wanted to leave a year ago, but I've got 2 kids and a mortgage. I couldn't risk it without something lined up." He pulled out his phone and showed me a spreadsheet. "I've been tracking every time Derek screwed over a client. Late responses, missed meetings, overcharges. I've got documentation on everything. If you're serious about doing this right, I can help." We talked for 2 hours. Marcus knew every client account, every contract detail, every weakness in Derek's operation. By the time we finished our coffee, I had my first employee. Monday morning, my business phone number went live. I'd set it up to be similar to Derek's old number, just 2 digits different. It wasn't intentional sabotage, those were just the available numbers the phone company offered. But within an hour, I got my first misdirected call. "Prestige Property Management, this is James speaking." "Oh, thank goodness someone finally answered. This is Carol from Westbrook Hills. Our streetlights have been out for a week and nobody's returning my calls." "Carol, I need to be transparent with you. I'm not with Derek's company anymore. This is a new operation, same name but different management. However, I'd be happy to help you with your streetlight issue if you're interested in hearing about our services." There was a pause. "Are you the James Mitchell who used to handle our account 2 years ago?" "Yes, ma'am." "The one who actually fixed our drainage problem in 3 days, when Derek said it would take 3 weeks." I smiled. "That was me." "Then I don't care what company you're with. Can you help us or not?" "I can have an electrician out there tomorrow morning, but I'll need approval from your board to take over the account officially." "I'm calling an emergency board meeting tonight. Can you be there?" By Tuesday afternoon, I had my first official client. Westbrook Hills voted unanimously to terminate their contract with Derek and sign with me. Mr. Kim from Sunrise Gardens called that evening and scheduled a meeting for Thursday. Mrs. Henderson from Riverside Estates sent over their contract for review. Derek found out by Wednesday. His new assistant called Marcus, asking why Westbrook Hills was requesting their files. "They terminated the contract," Marcus told her simply. "They're moving to a different management company." Within an hour, my phone rang. "Derek," I answered on speaker so Sarah could hear. "You're poaching my clients." His voice was ice cold. "I'm not poaching anyone, Derek. They're calling me. There's a difference." "This is tortious interference. I'm going to sue you into bankruptcy." "Sue me for what?" "Running a better business, answering my phone, actually showing up to meetings." I kept my voice calm. "You created this situation when you fired me. Now you're dealing with the consequences." "Those are my clients. I built those relationships." "No, Derek, I built those relationships. You just took credit for them, and now they're choosing who they actually want to work with." He hung up without another word. Sarah squeezed my shoulder. "How many clients do you have lined up now?" 3 confirmed, 4 more in serious talks. If even half of them sign, I'll have enough to hire a small team and rent a real office. "And Derek?" I pulled up a spreadsheet Marcus had sent me. "He's lost 3 major accounts this week. His revenue is probably down 20% already, and it's only going to get worse." Sarah looked at me carefully. "Are you okay with that, with knowing you're destroying what he built?" I thought about it honestly. He destroyed it himself. I'm just giving people a better option. I closed my laptop. Besides, I'm not trying to destroy anything. I'm trying to build something better, something that actually serves the people who pay for it. My phone buzzed with a new email. Jennifer Walsh from Maplewood Terrace. The subject line read, "Board vote scheduled for Friday." The message was simple. "We're ready to make a change. Come prepared to discuss your service model and pricing. I think you'll like what we have to say." I showed Sarah the email. She grinned. "You're not just getting revenge anymore, are you?" "No," I agreed. "I'm getting a career." 3 weeks after launching my company, I signed my 8th client. Maplewood Terrace made it official on Friday afternoon, and Jennifer Walsh sent me a bottle of champagne with a note that read, "Thank you for giving us hope that property management doesn't have to be a nightmare." Sarah and I celebrated that night, but the victory felt different than I'd expected. Hollow somehow. I'd wanted to hurt Derek, and I was succeeding beyond my wildest imagination. So why did I feel so conflicted? The answer came at 10:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night, 3 days later. I was reviewing maintenance schedules when our doorbell rang. Sarah looked at me from the couch, book in hand. "Who comes by at almost 11? I checked the security camera on my phone and felt my stomach drop. Derek was standing on our front porch, and he looked terrible. Disheveled hair, wrinkled shirt, wild eyes. "Don't open it," Sarah said immediately, moving toward the kitchen where her phone was charging. "I'm not going to." I pulled up the camera app and hit the two-way audio. "Derek, you need to leave, now." His head snapped up toward the camera. "I need to talk to you, face to face, man to man. We can talk through lawyers. Leave my property, or I'm calling the authorities." "You destroyed my life." His voice cracked, and I realized he might be drunk. 12 years I spent building that company. 12 years, and you took it all away in 3 weeks. Sarah already had her phone out dialing. I kept recording, keeping my voice level. "I didn't take anything, Derek. You fired me. Remember, on my honeymoon. This isn't about you being fired. This is about you being vindictive and cruel. You knew what that trademark meant. You knew what would happen." He stepped closer to the door, and I heard Sarah talking quietly to the dispatcher in the kitchen. "I lost 8 clients this month. 8, my revenue is down 60%. I had to let 3 employees go. My wife is talking about separation because I remortgaged our house to keep the business afloat." Something twisted in my chest. I'd wanted consequences, but hearing the complete destruction in his voice made me feel sick. "Derek, I'm sorry about your marriage and your employees. I really am, but you made choices that led here. I made one mistake. I fired you when I was stressed about losing Riverside Estates. One mistake, and you turned it into a vendetta." One mistake, my anger flared back to life. "You didn't just fire me, Derek. You humiliated me. You dismissed 4 years of loyalty like it meant nothing. You still haven't paid me my final commission or vacation time. And when I found out I had leverage, yes, I used it. Just like you would have." He was crying now, actual tears running down his face. "Please, just sell me the trademark. I'll pay whatever you want. $100,000, $150,000. I'll take out another loan. Just let me have my company name back." Red and blue lights appeared at the end of our street. Derek saw them too and backed away from the door. "You were my best employee," he said quietly, all the fight draining out of him. "I should have told you that. I should have appreciated you. Instead, I threw you away, and now you're throwing me away the same way." The police car pulled into our driveway. Derek raised his hands, showing he wasn't a threat. "I'm leaving, I'm going." I watched through the camera as 2 officers talked to him, checked his identification, and strongly suggested he go home. He left without looking back at the house. Sarah came and stood next to me, her arm around my waist. "Are you okay?" "I don't know." I watched Derek's car disappear down the street. I wanted him to suffer. Now he is, and I feel terrible about it. "You're not responsible for his choices. He fired you. He refused reasonable settlements. He built a company on poor service and high prices. This was always going to catch up with him. I know, but I sped up the timeline. The next morning, I got a call from Marcus. You're not going to believe this. Derek's rebranding. He's changing the company name to Elite Property Services. The announcement went out an hour ago. He's giving up the fight. He doesn't have a choice. He can't afford your counteroffer and he can't operate without a name. The rebrand is costing him a fortune though. New website, new signs, new marketing materials. And his remaining clients are confused. Half of them think he sold the company. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt tired. That afternoon, 3 more of Derek's former clients called me. One of them, Daniel Torres from Pinewood Manor, was particularly blunt. I heard Derek had a breakdown at someone's house last night. Is that true? I'd rather not comment on that. Fair enough, but I'll tell you this, we've been unhappy with his service for 2 years. You didn't create our dissatisfaction, you just gave us an alternative. He paused. Don't feel guilty for being better at your job than he was at his. After the call ended, I sat in my home office for a long time. Sarah found me there an hour later, staring at nothing. What are you thinking about? She asked. Whether winning is supposed to feel like this. She sat down across from me. Like what? Like maybe I went too far. Like maybe I became the villain of someone else's story while trying to be the hero of mine. Sarah reached across and took my hand. You know what I think? I think Derek is finally experiencing consequences for the first time in his life. And consequences feel like cruelty when you're used to getting away with everything. She was probably right. But that night, I barely slept. I kept seeing Derek's face on my doorstep, broken and desperate, and wondering if this was really the victory I'd wanted. Derek's rebrand was a disaster. I heard about it through Marcus, who still had friends at Elite Property Services, as it was now called. The new logo looked like something designed in 15 minutes using free software. The website crashed on launch day and stayed down for 48 hours. Clients were calling both companies, confused about which one they were actually working with. By the end of the month, Derek had lost 11 of his original 40 accounts. My company had picked up 9 of them. The other 2 went to competitors who'd been circling like sharks, sensing blood in the water. I was sitting in my new office, a modest space in a professional building downtown, when Rachel called with news. Derek's lawyer reached out. They want to talk settlement. Real settlement this time, not lowball offers. What are they proposing? They want to meet in person. All parties, all lawyers. He wants to negotiate face to face. She paused. James, I think he's ready to fold. His business is dying and he knows it. We met at Rachel's office on a Thursday afternoon. Derek walked in looking like he'd aged 5 years in 5 weeks. His suit was expensive but hung wrong on him, like he'd lost weight. His lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Reeves, carried a leather briefcase that probably cost more than my first car. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Patricia said, settling into her chair. Derek wouldn't look at me. Let's hear what you have, Rachel replied, pen poised over her legal pad. Patricia slid a document across the table. Our offer is as follows: $175,000 for the trademark and all associated intellectual property. Full payment of all outstanding wages, commissions, and vacation time owed to Mr. Mitchell, totaling $8,400. Additionally, Mr. Morrison will transfer 3 of his current client contracts to Mr. Mitchell's company. Small accounts, but stable and profitable. I blinked. That was more than double their first offer. Why the contracts? Derek finally spoke, his voice rough. Because I can't service them properly anymore. I don't have enough staff, I don't have enough capital, and they deserve better than what I can give them right now. He looked at me directly for the first time. You were right about one thing, I did get lazy. I stopped caring about the clients and started caring about the money, and it caught up with me. There was no satisfaction in hearing him admit it. Just sadness for what could have been different. What's the catch? I asked Patricia. Non-disclosure agreement. You don't discuss the settlement terms publicly, and you don't discuss the circumstances of your termination. Clean break, fresh start for everyone. Rachel looked at me. This was my decision. I thought about Derek showing up at my house, broken and desperate. I thought about his employees who'd lost their jobs because of this war. I thought about Sarah's words. Consequences feel like cruelty when you're used to getting away with everything. I want one change to the terms, I said. Patricia tensed. What change? No non-disclosure agreement. Instead, Derek provides honest professional references for any of his former employees who apply to work for me. No retaliation, no sabotage, just honest assessments of their work. Derek's eyebrows rose. That's what you want, references. Your employees didn't do anything wrong. They shouldn't suffer because we had a conflict. If they want to work for me, I want to know I'm getting accurate information about their abilities. He nodded slowly. That's fair, that's more than fair. Patricia made notes on the contract. Anything else? I looked at Derek, really looked at him. He was broken, but he wasn't destroyed. He still had a business, even if it was smaller. He still had options, even if they were limited. And somewhere in his eyes, I saw something I hadn't expected, respect. That's everything, I said. We signed the papers an hour later. Derek's check cleared on Monday morning. The 3 client contracts transferred smoothly over the following week. Marcus helped facilitate the transition, making sure the homeowners barely noticed the change. 2 weeks after the settlement, I was reviewing the books with Sarah at our kitchen table. Our original kitchen table, where this whole thing had started with a trademark certificate and a wild idea. We have 12 clients now, I said, running my finger down the spreadsheet. 14 if you count the 2 accounts we're finalizing next week. Revenue is stable. We've hired 6 employees. We're actually profitable. How do you feel about it? Sarah asked carefully. She'd been watching me closely since the settlement, making sure I was processing everything. Honestly, relieved. I didn't realize how much energy the anger was taking until I let it go. Do you regret any of it? I thought about that question seriously. I regret that it had to happen at all. I regret that people lost their jobs. I regret that Derek's marriage is struggling. But do I regret standing up for myself? No. He needed to face consequences, and I needed to prove I could do this on my own. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I opened it cautiously. This is Derek. I know we agreed to move on, but I wanted to say something. You were the best employee I ever had, and I was a fool to let you go. You're going to do great things with your company. I mean that. Good luck. I showed Sarah the message. She smiled softly. Are you going to respond? Yeah, I typed out a reply. Thank you for saying that. I hope Elite Property Services finds its footing. There's room in this industry for both of us to succeed. I hit send and set my phone down. It was true. There was room for both of us. The difference was, I was building something based on service and integrity, while Derek was rebuilding something he'd let decay through neglect. You ready for the next chapter? Sarah asked. I looked around our kitchen, at the business plans spread across the table, at my wife who'd supported me through all of this chaos, at the life we were building together. Yes, I said, I'm ready. 8 months after that phone call in Bali, I'm sitting in my home office on a Saturday morning, and I barely recognize my life. Prestige Property Management Solutions now manages 15 housing developments across 4 counties. We have 8 full-time employees, 3 of whom used to work for Derek. Our client satisfaction ratings are the highest in the region, and we have a waiting list of developments wanting to sign with us. Marcus just got promoted to operations manager. Michelle, Derek's former assistant who quit during his meltdown, joined us in month 3 and now runs our client relations department. She's phenomenal at her job, and I wonder how Derek ever let her talents go to waste. The business is thriving, but that's not the part that surprises me most. What surprises me is that I actually enjoy it. I love the work. I love solving problems for people who feel heard and respected. I love building a company culture based on integrity instead of ego. Every day, I get to prove that business doesn't have to be cruel to be successful. Derek's company survived, though it looks nothing like it used to. Elite Property Services now focuses on office buildings and retail properties. He got out of residential management entirely, and from what I hear through industry channels, he's doing okay. Not great, but stable. He downsized significantly, kept his core team, and apparently went to therapy to work on his management style. We don't talk, but we're not enemies anymore either. Last month, Sarah and I finally took our do-over honeymoon to Bali. Same resort, same beach, same sunset view, but everything felt different this time. This is what it was supposed to feel like, Sarah said, her toes in the sand, a coconut drink in her hand. Peaceful, happy, not worried about what disaster is waiting for us back home. I pulled her close. No disasters waiting, just a business that runs smoothly because we hired good people and trained them well. And because you answer your phone, she added with a smile. Revolutionary concept in property management, apparently. On our second night there, my phone rang. I'd promised myself I wouldn't work during the trip, but the number was local to our area back home, and something made me answer. Mr. Mitchell, this is David Chen. I'm the president of Lakeside Communities. I apologize for calling during your vacation, but I got your number from Patricia Henderson at Riverside Estates. It's all right, Mr. Chen. What can I do for you? Our current management company, Elite Property Services, is doing an adequate job, but we're looking for something more. Mrs. Henderson speaks very highly of your company's responsiveness and integrity. I was hoping we could schedule a meeting when you return. Elite Property Services, Derek's company. I could have felt triumphant. Could have felt like this was the universe confirming that I'd won. Instead, I just felt sad that Derek still hadn't learned the fundamental lesson. People don't leave adequate. They leave for exceptional. I'd be happy to meet with you, Mr. Chen. I'll have my assistant reach out when I'm back in the office next week. After we hung up, Sarah looked at me with knowing eyes. That was one of Derek's clients, wasn't it? Yeah. And you're not celebrating? No, I'm just wondering if he'll ever figure it out. I set my phone down in the sand. But that's not my problem to solve anymore. I built what I wanted to build. What he does with his company is up to him. The next morning, I sent Derek a text. Simple and straightforward. Lakeside Communities reached out to me. I wanted you to know I didn't solicit them. If you want to fight to keep them, now's your chance. Up your game. He responded 3 hours later. Appreciate the heads up. You're right. Time to up my game. That evening, I ran into someone unexpected at the resort restaurant. A property management conference was happening at a nearby hotel, and several industry professionals were staying at our resort. One of them was Thomas Brennan, a senior executive I'd met at conferences when I worked for Derek. James Mitchell, I heard about your new company, impressive growth. He shook my hand warmly. And I heard about the Trademark situation too. That was quite the power move. It wasn't my finest moment, I admitted, but it led somewhere good. That's the thing about this industry. Drama happens, people hold grudges, but at the end of the day, the clients just want someone who cares. You care. That's why you're succeeding. On our last night in Bali, Sarah and I walked the same beach where Derek had called me 8 months ago. The sunset was just as beautiful, but this time I could actually appreciate it. Do you ever think about what would have happened if he hadn't fired you? Sarah asked. Sometimes. I probably would have stayed another year or two, gotten comfortable, maybe never taken the risk of starting my own thing. I squeezed her hand. In a weird way, Derek firing me was the best thing that ever happened to my career. Don't tell him that. His ego couldn't handle knowing he accidentally helped you. I laughed, our secret. We flew home 2 days later, and I walked into my office on Monday morning with a clarity I'd never felt before. This was my company, built on my terms, with my values, serving clients who chose us because of what we offered, not because they felt trapped. Marcus greeted me with a stack of messages and a grin. "Welcome back, boss. We picked up 2 new clients while you were gone, fixed a major plumbing issue at Riverside Estates in 4 hours, and got a 5-star review from Maplewood Terrace." And Derek's accounts. Lakeside Communities scheduled a meeting with us for Thursday, but I also heard Derek hired a new client services director and is implementing some of our customer service protocols. He's learning. Good for him, genuinely good for him. That night, Sarah and I sat in our backyard, watching the stars come out. Our modest house, our growing business, our second-chance honeymoon memories still fresh. "Was it worth it?" she asked quietly. "Everything you went through?" I thought about Derek's voice on the phone in Bali, the trademark certificate that changed everything, the clients who trusted me, the employees who believed in what we were building, the man I'd become through the process of fighting for myself. "Yeah," I said finally. "It was worth it, not because I destroyed Derek's company, but because I built something better, something mine." Sarah leaned her head on my shoulder. "I'm proud of you, not for the revenge part, but for what came after." The revenge part was just the spark. Building something meaningful was the actual fire. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Mrs. Henderson. "Thank you for another wonderful month of service. You've restored my faith in property management." I showed it to Sarah, and we both smiled. This was the real victory. Not the trademark, not the settlement money, not even the growing client list. The real victory was knowing I'd built something that actually helped people, that I'd turned anger into purpose, betrayal into opportunity, and revenge into redemption. Derek taught me what not to do, and in learning that lesson, I discovered what I should have been doing all along. Building something worth being proud of. Every HOA has a story on HOA headaches. You'll hear the ones they tried to bury. Subscribe today.